This is Steve from Boxing UK. What a day to be joined by Joe Gallagher. How are you, Joe?
I'm all right, mate. It's as you say there, what a day it was as well, mate. It is some day, isn't it? A very proud day, not for me, but just for Callum Smith. We feel like we could do with having a party, just that we've got the fight. But the time isn't allowing us that. We were like 4 weeks away nearly from the fight, 3 weeks training left. So, but it's fantastic, and full credit to Callum Smith. When people say he was ducking and diving, Callum's always wanted to fight the best in the world, and full credit to Canelo as well. They've decided to take on each other. I'm sure Canelo knew 10 weeks ago it was going to be Callum, but we all had to play the game, and fair play to Callum. Obviously, they're not going to get the money that they should have got. They're not got to fight in the big crowds that they wish they would have done, and we're in a pandemic, but Callum wants to fight the best, and Canelo's seen as the number one pound-for-pound fighter in the world, and has decided to listen, come on, let's do it. It is what it is, and let's go. And I think all credit to Callum Smith for doing that in these difficult times when you hear about fighters not fighting, they're wanting to wait for a crowd, and who knows what's got to happen next year. Where's the guarantee? So full credit to Callum Smith for pushing ahead and getting this fight, and huge thanks to Eddie Reynoso for pushing it to be Callum Smith. There was a conversation last year in December where he gave me his word in Arizona that he would do his best to try and make sure Callum Smith fought Canelo in 2020, and he has. So, winner.
Good man. Joe, was it always, you say that Canelo's probably known that it was Callum. How many were in the equation? Because am I right in thinking even just before the announcement, he was still finalising details?
Yeah, that's right. There was a post went out last week about the fight, it's done, and I posted fake news, and people, fake news, but it wasn't done. It was just rubbish to assume that it wasn't done. And yesterday I was speaking to Sean, Callum's lawyer, who's done a great job in these negotiations, and we said, this isn't done, and this was like 6:30, 7 o'clock at night, still things to be done. And I think Callum possibly knew that he was getting it most probably an hour before the announcement. And at the time, obviously, there's Caleb Plant there, there's Yildirim there might have been a Truax, a Eubank Jr. You just don't know, but he must have had 3 or 4 to play the game to get the deal he wanted. And like I say, we were planning to fight in December, and a short list was being drawn up, and we looked at a few opponents. And then all of a sudden, the zone Golden Boy Canelo situation resolved itself, and next thing, Callum Smith's name was back in the hat, and it is what it is now. And we've just got to crack on it and make the most of it.
Have you seen the online reaction, Joe? Because it's almost unusually universally, everyone's universally delighted with it. There's not many dissenting voices about this one.
I don't think you can really. I think what everyone wanted was Canelo to be involved in a fight once he broke away, and I think Billy Joe, Callum Smith are 2 serious threats to Canelo, and the fact that he's as well as Caleb Plant and Benavidez, but for this side of the Atlantic, they are serious propositions and threats to him. So I think people are pleased to see a fight. And in a pandemic, when you've seen last weekend Crawford fight, you've seen Teofimo Lopez and Lomachenko fight, you've seen Usyk fight, and now you've got Canelo and Callum Smith fighting without crowds. And like you say, the sport of boxing is trying to crack on, and full credit to it. And if it's got a great reaction today, then brilliant. And how could it not? You've got the number one, that's 168 in the world, fighting on the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter. A lot of people, obviously, there's a backdrop story of Canelo beating Liam Smith. And ironically, I put in a post last night, 8 years ago yesterday, Callum Smith made his pro debut. 8 years later, on the very same date, he's the world number 1, and he's just announced that he's got to fight the pound for pound. And it's just like, if Carlsberg did 8 years, that's what you'd want, wouldn't you? So it's just a great opportunity. I'm glad that there's been a positive reaction. And like I said, the only downside that Callum isn't going to get what his brother got, them big press conferences, the tours to America and back, and the 55,000 that was there for when Liam fought him. But at the end of the day, it's all about getting the opportunity, getting the fight, and Callum's backing himself to go and do that. And we're hugely confident as well.
Absolutely. If he pulls it off, Joe, I know it's only just been announced yesterday, but are you aware of what a Callum victory would mean?
I'm aware of what it would mean for Callum. Callum, his dream all along was to be the best that he could be, and he wants to be undisputed at super middleweight. Beating Canelo doesn't give him undisputed status, but I tell you what, it might give him pound for pound #1 status, and I don't think that's not a bad bargain. And that's what he wants to do, and then we'll sit after that, and we'll see what happens. But we've got to do it. But I'm so happy for Callum Smith and everything that he's put into, and the frustrating times that we've had during the last 8 years. We've managed to do it, and one thing with Callum, in the big fights, he's always performed, and so has Canelo. That's the worry. So we could do with Canelo having an off night for once in his career.
Hey, it might happen, Joe. You never know.
No, you never know, mate.
Can we go back to the Ryder fight, Joe? Because it would be remiss if we didn't mention it. Callum did get a bit of criticism after the Ryder fight. Yeah. Should fans take anything from that at all going into the Canelo fight, or is this just a completely different kettle of fish now?
Yeah, it's a totally different kettle of fish. I've said the John Ryder fight, they give Callum stick. Well, it's not Callum judging the scorecards, and there's 2 scorecards of 116, 112, and John Ryder had closer fights on the scorecards with Rocky Fielding and Billy Joe Saunders, and there wasn't a huge outcry. It is what it is. And Callum fought. The funny thing about it is Canelo never really mentioned Callum. He mentioned him once just before the Callum Smith-Nadam fight. And then after that performance, he never mentioned him again. It was only after that fight with John Ryder, Canelo started talking Callum Smith. So sometimes there's the same boxing. Sometimes a not bad performance might get you the big fight. And like I say, that might have been the chance that Canelo thought, Joe, I'll take a risk here. I've seen a chink here, and that's it. But if he thinks the Callum that turned up with John Ryder that night is going to be the one that turns up with Canelo, he's in for a big surprise.
Can I ask you about Canelo as well then? He's fought Triple G a couple of times.
Yeah.
Probably the biggest puncher that he's faced before Callum. How did you score those 2 fights, Joe? Because personally, we had Triple G winning the first and probably the draw second one.
You can make an argument for the other way around. Canelo the first and Triple G the second. I remember the time the first one, we watched it. Callum fought Scotland that night, and we watched it at the Hilton, so we couldn't really pay full attention. But my general consensus, I thought Canelo had just nicked it, where the second one, I thought Triple G most probably had done. So it's what you're looking for. It's a subjective sport. But like I say, that the good fighters, Kovalev as a good fighter, was pushing him close. He's 30 years of age. He's been a pro a long time. So we'll just have to see what happens.
Lovely. Joe, you've just gone off again.
Yeah, okay. I don't know. I think the phone might have just gone then. Yeah, go on.
Do you take anything from those fights where Canelo's been run close, Joe? Or do you just have your own game plan in mind?
No, we've just got our own. We've got our own. We've got Canelo experience. So we've obviously Callum's brother Liam fighting, defending his world title against him. We're used to the Canelo experience, the fight week of Canelo. And being in with Canelo, and Liam Smith doesn't get much credit for his performance, but it was a fantastic performance. The only thing Liam lacked a little bit was he had a bad injury before the fight cut, so he didn't do no sparring and just carried that little bit more pop that you might have needed. But he landed well. He got himself in good positions, had good success at times. And, we took a lot of positive stuff away from that. And now we're going back with Callum. Callum's a totally different fighter, size-wise and everything else from Liam, but it gives us good hope as well. Do you know what I mean? And, like you say, like I said to you right at the very beginning, huge credit to Canelo and Callum Smith and Canelo for wanting to come out and think, Joe, what a fight the champions, and he is doing.
Lovely. Can I ask about yourself, Joe? I think it's safe to say you've had a turbulent few weeks.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't at all. I feel I've just been honest, and I just feel something wasn't being what I thought done right or fairly. I made a comment which was a wrong comment. I since corrected that, and we just move on. And like I said in that interview at the time, 99 of the times, when it's all in their favour, they're happy. The one time it isn't, you pipe up, you're arsehole, you're hard to work with, and all that type of stuff. And that's not the case. And yeah, that's it. But say your piece, and if you've got a clear conscience, it shouldn't trouble you. Doesn't trouble me. I'm fighting on all fronts for my lot, money wise. They're the ones that seem to have a problem with the way that they react to it. So it is what it is. Some of the stuff that was said, I'm not going to go back over old ground, but it's been proven, and it can be proved that some of it was just rubbish. And the amount of people that want to have an opinion on a situation and what was said, they don't know the full story. So, like anything, a lot of people do stuff for clickbait material, don't they? And not sure I'm an easy person to clickbait, but I'm just standing up for my fighters and just trying to get them the work and just raise flags and just say, right, enough's enough. Now, there's a kid here not fought for 600 days. And when you turn around and say, well, ask him why he don't get the fights. Well, the interview was 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. What's wrong with the last 18 months? What was the excuse then? So anyway, it's done. As far as I'm concerned, once it was done and corrected, we just all move on. So yeah, it's not being turbulent on my behalf, as you see now. Yeah, Callum's fighting Canelo, and there'll be other news for fighters coming along very soon as well.
Good man.
It's just every day, like board meetings, you disagree, you don't disagree. I don't know why there was such a big hoo-ha about it. Maybe the one thing they said was wrong and I corrected it. Everything else, it's like, so what? It's business, that's it. It's like everyone else can have opinion, everyone else can call you, everyone else can say you this and this. But if you say something back, then like, wow, you get everything thrown at you.
Yeah. Is this vindication in a way though, Joe?
No, not really. I don't say it like that. I just say it's Callum Smith's world title fight. That's it. Adam Smith has got a job at Sky to do. Eddie Hearn's got a job to do for Matchroom. There's a talented bunch of fighters up and down the country that aren't getting work. And it's up to them to put them to work. I'm just interested in my fighters, and that's it.
Good man. Just on that, one of the things you do is you're very vocal in defence of your fighters. No doubt you'll be expecting some of the usual Canelo stunts over there in fight week. You'll not be backwards and coming forwards taking them on, Joe, will you?
I don't think Canelo's ever been like that, and that was some of the arguments that sometimes that we have over here, that people say, oh, you've got to flip tables, you've got to be controversial. And I always say in them meetings and interviews, well, Canelo, Triple G, Lomachenko, Usyk, Inoue, 5 of the best fighters in the world, pound for pound. I've never seen one of them trash talk or flip a table yet. So why should fighters here have to do that? Because it's drama, it drives sales and tickets. But you're promoting the shit out of them and they don't flip tables. So, do you know what I mean? It's like, just don't try and get people to be who they're not. That's who they are. Let's go and boxing talent. And there's lots of good fighters out there. They're not salesmen. I see Dana White today having a go at Bob Arum, which was interesting. And it's true. Promoters are promoters. They've got to promote the shit out of it. You can't blame the fighters because they're not posting on Instagram. They're fighters. They're not promoters. They're fighters. I think this day and age of social media, it's good for fighters to get a profile and try and get a profile. But there's fighters out there that don't want that they just, I want to fight. They're just fighters. I've turned professional to be a professional fighter. I'm not being turned over to become a celebrity influencer on social media.
Just ending with the fight, Joe. Your early thoughts? How do you think it goes? I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, I think it's got to be a good fight, an interesting fight, and a fight that can ignite very, very quick. I think if Canelo comes out the way like he did with Rocky Fielding, this has got to turn into a bit of a shootout, a Gallaghers, and that's. I'm not saying we've got to be Gallaghers get slated for that, but that typical style of fight where Canelo's got a Joe, I'll risk it. I'll go to try and break it. Has that in him? Could start off slow and patient like he did against Kovalev. We're going to be equipped to deal with the best Canelo that turns up. If it's enough to win us the fight, great. Do you know what I mean? But we'll push this really hard. I'm usually confident. Callum, his actions speak usually confident in that I'm taking the fight at this short notice. And we're going out there. All I ask is that we get a fair shake of the judges, and hopefully we may get a British official of some sorts involved, either reffing or a judge. That's what I would like.
Good luck with that one, Joe.
Oh, yeah, no.
Anything else happening in camp? Is there any news on Callum or Tasha coming up?
No, Natasha, they were in the gym training today. Liam was in the gym training today. I'm sure they'll all have news for fights in the new year. But Callum Johnson, there'll be something for him very soon. So, 2021's got to be a big year, exciting year. And like you say, don't believe everything that you read or you hear out there. Do you know what I mean? So there's always two sides. And like you say, first and foremost now, the big job is to end 2020 on a high and have the number one pound for pound fighter in the world coming out of England. Absolutely.
I think it only remains to say, on behalf of the British public, Joe, we can't wait for this one. What a way to end the year. That's not been the best for boxing, has it?
No, it hasn't. It'll be brilliant. And I think Luke Campbell might be fighting the week later against
Garcia.
Garcia, yeah. So it'd be great if they go 2 out of 2, and Joshua the week before. British boxing will be in a good place.
What a way to end the year, mate.
Yeah, brilliant.
Joe, I've chased you for long enough. Thank you very much for your time.
No problem, mate. Sound, thanks. Nice to meet you. Nice to catch up.
Yeah, and you. And hopefully speak to you near the fight.
Yeah, we'll speak to you before we depart, I'm sure.
Lovely. Look after yourself, Joe. Keep safe.
And you. Cheers. Thank you. Bye-bye.